In the vast expanse of human history, few institutions have been as enduring and transformative as marriage. For Muslims, marriage is not just a social contract, but a sacred bond that forms the very fabric of society. It is a union that transcends the physical and emotional, rooted in divine guidance and designed to foster love, compassion, and mutual respect. Marriage in Islam is a spiritual journey, a partnership built on faith and a means of achieving tranquility and balance in life. Let's embark on a journey through the history of Islamic marriage, from its ancient roots in pre-Islamic Arabia to its modern-day practices, and explore how this institution has evolved over time, adapting to cultural, social, and legal changes while maintaining its core spiritual essence. This journey will reveal how Islamic marriage has shaped societies, empowered individuals, and continues to be a cornerstone of Muslim life across the globe. First, pre-Islamic Arabia, a landscape of diverse and often oppressive practices. Before the advent of Islam, the Arabian Peninsula was a mosaic of tribal societies with varied marriage customs. Marriage was often less about love or mutual consent, and more about alliances, wealth, and power. Women in particular had little agency in their marital lives. Practices such as marriage by capture, where women were taken as spoils of war, and marriage by inheritance, where a widow could be inherited by her deceased husband's male relatives, were common. Polygamy was widespread, with no limits on the number of wives a man could have, and women were often treated as property rather than equal partners. In this context, marriage was largely a transactional arrangement, with little regard for the rights or dignity of women. Divorce was also heavily skewed in favor of men, who could dissolve marriages at will, leaving women vulnerable and without recourse. This pre-Islamic era, often referred to as the Jahiliyyah, Age of Ignorance, set the stage for the transformative reforms that Islam would introduce. The status of women was so low that female infants were sometimes buried alive, a practice that Islam vehemently condemned and eradicated. Reforms with Islam, a paradigm shift in marriage practices. The advent of Islam in the 7th century brought profound changes to the institution of marriage. The Quran and the teachings of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, emphasized the sanctity of marriage, framing it as a mithaq, sacred covenant between two individuals. One of the most significant reforms was the limitation of polygyny to 4 wives, with the strict condition that each wife must be treated equally and provided for financially. This was a radical departure from the unrestricted polygyny of pre-Islamic Arabia. Another groundbreaking reform was the introduction of the mahar, dowry, a mandatory gift from the groom to the bride, which became her exclusive property. This was a stark contrast to the pre-Islamic practice where the dowry was often paid to the bride's family. The mahar symbolized the bride's autonomy and financial independence, ensuring that she had resources to fall back on if needed. The Quran states, "And give the women upon marriage their bridal gifts graciously. But if they give up willingly to you anything of it, then take it in satisfaction and ease." Quran 4:4. This verse underscores the importance of the mahar as a right of the bride. Islam also abolished oppressive practices like marriage by capture and inheritance, emphasizing the importance of mutual consent. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, famously said, "A woman who has been previously married has more right concerning herself than her guardian, and a virgin's consent must be asked about herself, and her silence is her consent." This underscored the principle that marriage must be entered into willingly by both parties. Additionally, Islam granted women the right to initiate divorce under certain conditions, a revolutionary concept at the time. The Islamic marriage contract, a foundation of rights and responsibilities. At the heart of Islamic marriage is the nikah, a legally binding contract that outlines the rights and responsibilities of both spouses. The nikah requires several key elements. Mutual consent. Both the bride and groom must agree to the marriage freely and without coercion. This principle is rooted in the Quranic injunction that marriage should be based on mutual love and mercy. And of his signs is that he created for you from yourselves mates that you may find tranquility in them, and he placed between you affection and mercy. Quran 30:21. Witnesses. The presence of 2 witnesses is mandatory to ensure transparency and accountability. Mahr. The groom is required to offer a gift or sum of money to the bride, which becomes her sole property. The mahr can be anything of value from money to property, and its amount is agreed upon by both parties. Terms and conditions. The contract can include specific terms agreed upon by both parties, such as conditions for divorce or financial arrangements. For example, a wife may stipulate in the contract that she has the right to work or pursue education after marriage. The nikah is not just a religious ritual, but a legal framework that protects the rights of both spouses. It ensures that the bride's autonomy is respected, that the groom fulfills his financial obligations, and that both parties are aware of their duties within the marriage. This emphasis on contractual clarity was revolutionary for its time and remains a cornerstone of Islamic marriage today. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, "The most deserving of conditions to be fulfilled are those by which you are given the right to enjoy the private parts, i.e., the marriage contract." This highlights the sanctity of the marriage contract and the importance of honoring its terms. Evolution of marriage laws, empowering women through legal reforms. Over the centuries, Islamic marriage laws have continued to evolve, influenced by cultural, social, and legal developments. In many Muslim-majority countries, legislative reforms have been introduced to address issues such as polygyny, divorce, and women's rights. For example, in the 20th century, countries like Tunisia banned polygyny altogether, while others, such as Morocco, introduced stricter regulations to ensure fairness and equality in polygynous marriages. Landmark judicial rulings have also played a crucial role in shaping modern Islamic marriage practices. Courts in countries like India and Pakistan have issued judgments that uphold women's rights to mahar, maintenance, and fair treatment in divorce proceedings. These legal advancements reflect a growing recognition of the need to balance traditional Islamic principles with contemporary notions of gender equality and justice. In recent years, there has been a growing movement to reinterpret Islamic texts in ways that empower women. Scholars and activists are challenging traditional interpretations of marriage and divorce laws, advocating for reforms that align with the Quranic principles of justice and equality. For example, some scholars argue that the Quranic injunction to treat multiple wives equally is nearly impossible to fulfill in practice, and therefore, monogamy should be the norm. 5. Cultural practices, blending Islamic principles with local traditions. While the core principles of Islamic marriage are universal, the way these principles are expressed varies widely across cultures. From the vibrant Laylat al-Henna, Henna night, celebrations in the Middle East to the elaborate Walima, wedding reception, feasts in South Asia, Islamic marriage ceremonies are rich with cultural traditions that reflect the diversity of the Muslim world. In Indonesia, for example, the akad nikah, marriage contract ceremony, is often accompanied by traditional music and dance, while in West Africa, Islamic weddings may include rituals that predate Islam but have been adapted to align with Islamic values. In Turkey, the nikah ceremony is often followed by a civil marriage to ensure legal recognition in the secular state system. These cultural practices highlight the dynamic interplay between faith and tradition, demonstrating how Islamic marriage can be both universal and deeply personal. Despite these cultural variations, the core elements of Islamic marriage, mutual consent, the mahr, and the marriage contract, remain consistent. This unity in diversity is a testament to the adaptability and resilience of Islamic marriage as an institution. Modern challenges, navigating tradition and change. In today's globalized world, Islamic marriage faces new challenges. One of the most pressing issues is the enforceability of mahar agreements in secular legal systems. In countries where Islamic law is not the basis of the legal system, Muslim women may struggle to claim their mahar in the event of divorce. This has led to calls for greater legal recognition of Islamic marriage contracts in non-Muslim jurisdictions. Another challenge is the tension between traditional practices and modern values. For example, while polygyny is permitted in Islam, it is increasingly viewed as incompatible with contemporary notions of gender equality. Similarly, the rise of interfaith marriages and the growing influence of Western cultural norms have sparked debates about how to preserve the integrity of Islamic marriage in a rapidly changing world. The issue of domestic violence and marital abuse is another area of concern. While Islam emphasizes kindness and fairness in marriage, cultural practices and misinterpretations of religious texts have sometimes led to the justification of abusive behavior. Activists and scholars are working to address these issues by promoting a more nuanced understanding of Islamic teachings on marriage and family life. The history of Islamic marriage is a testament to the resilience and adaptability of this sacred institution. From its roots in pre-Islamic Arabia to its modern-day manifestations, Islamic marriage has undergone profound transformations while remaining true to its core principles of mutual respect, consent, and compassion. As Muslims continue to navigate the complexities of modern life, the institution of marriage remains a cornerstone of Islamic society, offering a framework for building harmonious and fulfilling relationships. In a world where the meaning of marriage is constantly being redefined, Islamic marriage stands as a reminder of the enduring power of faith, love, and commitment. It is a living tradition that continues to evolve, bridging the gap between the past and the present, and offering guidance for the future. As we reflect on this rich history, we are reminded that marriage at its best is not just a union of two individuals, but a reflection of divine wisdom and a source of strength for families and communities alike. The Quran beautifully encapsulates the essence of marriage. They are clothing for you and you are clothing for them. Quran 2:187. This metaphor highlights the intimate, protective, and complementary nature of the marital relationship. As Muslims strive to uphold these ideals in an ever-changing world, the institution of Islamic marriage will continue to serve as a beacon of hope, love, and unity for generations to come.